About a month ago, one of my subscribers asked me to do a video on Papal Infallibility. So here I am later, in my woodshed, a layperson. I'm going to give this a go. I'm not a theologian or anything. So how do we tell, or how can we define what Papal Infallibility is? Well, first of all, let's go back to Vatican I, which defined the term Papal Infallibility. So that means that a pope can speak infallibly on matters of the faith under certain circumstances. It doesn't mean that everything that comes out of his mouth is true. So there's two main conditions that apply to this. First of all, the pope may only speak on matters of faith and morals infallibly. That means he cannot speak on politics, he can't speak on science, especially geoscience or climate science or ecology or anything like that. He has no infallibility in those matters whatsoever, only faith and morals. The second condition is that he may define something that is already within the deposit of the faith. So whatever our Lord Jesus Christ left us, he can define or clarify what the meaning of those things are, but he cannot add anything to the deposit of faith, and he cannot take anything out of the deposit of faith. He can only clarify things that already exist as determined by the church through the Gospels and the Bible. So the Pope can only speak infallibly in a limited manner. It doesn't mean that everything that he says that comes out of his mouth, every encyclical that he writes, or anything like that, is necessarily true. With regards to Pope Francis, we can see this. It can be kind of confusing, I think, for some Catholics, because he's making a lot of generalized statements and making them sound true, especially in his latest encyclical, Tutti Frutti Milli Vanilli, or whatever the heck it's called. I'm not even going to read it, because to me, pretty much anything that comes out of his mouth is, although I'll listen and give it consideration, has been worthless so far. I'll give you an example of how you can tell, you can determine for yourself, you can judge what a pope is saying is true or not. In 2016, Pope Francis made a visit to Russia to speak with the Orthodox Patriarch, and he made a comment that it was a grave sin to try and convert the Orthodox. He brought up the terms proselytism and ecumenism. Proselytism is the action of making a conversion. So, for example, our Lord Jesus Christ says in the New Testament, or in the Gospels, "Go forth and baptize all nations." That is an action which brings about conversion. That is proselytism. Ecumenism is the idea that all Christian denominations can just sit down and work together without having to actually, be one, as we were directed by our Lord to be one faith. No, we can be a bunch of many different Christian faiths and sit down and work together to alleviate world poverty or whatever suffering. And in a limited extent, that is partially okay. But the general concept of ecumenism is not to actively engage and try and convert Protestants or heretics. So a comment that Pope Francis made was that proselytism is a sin against ecumenism. So he's saying that actively engaging and trying to make conversions, i.e. baptizing all nations, is a sin against those ideas that all Christian denominations can sit down together and work together without having to actually convert. So by saying that proselytism is a sin against ecumenism is kind of akin to saying that purity is a sin against masturbation. So you can see that you can take what a pope says and make a judgment for yourself. He's not defining anything. He's not using papal infallibility in this case. He's using his own ideas and his own concepts and trying to push it as Catholic. And I think that if you have a good head on your shoulders, you can see through that stuff and make your own decisions. Papal infallibility, again, is not everything that comes out of the Pope's mouth is true. It's only matters of faith and morals and existing deposit of faith only. Can't add anything, can't take anything out. You can't make ecumenism something that's more than actively trying to convert the nations. And you can't make ecology a moral issue. So, at least in the terms that he's trying to, you know, like introducing a Mother Earth coin kind of thing is obviously anti-Catholic and pagan. So we can see that that's not infallible. In fact, Papal Infallibility has only been used twice in the history of the Church. You can look for that stuff up on your own. I encourage you to go look up Vatican I and what it says about Papal Infallibility. And that's all I got to say today on this cold day in my woodshed. Catholic Northman, out.